What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Feel, don't think. Fear is my ally.
The Force will be with you.
We are encouraged to love.
Be mindful of your thoughts.
I will not betray the Republic.
Hey, Your Worship, I'm only trying to help.
Scruffy-looking nerf herder.
I'm not afraid.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
So I woke up this morning and the numbers had changed with the audience. It was back up to 32%. Now it's back down to 31. If you don't have a Rotten Tomatoes subscription, whatever, just join up and put your feelings down. Hit the certified rotten button twice, okay, like I did. It does them no good to keep making shit like this. But here's the funny thing. I went and looked at the internals, and top critics only give it a 75%. These are bad numbers, okay? The score that you get, the 91%, is not indicative of what's really going on with the Acolyte. I think my husband's chopping something down outside. I have to go upstairs. It's not indicative of what's going on. Now let's talk about the views. Okay, they're crowing 4.8 million views in one day, highest premiere for a Disney show this year. These are only about 3% of the Disney Plus subscribers. I did my own digging. I didn't need anybody from the Black Pill Squad, the Blobs, to tell me. I did my own numbers crunching. And 3% is not good. 3% aspires to be lousy. That's only 3% of Disney Plus subscribers, and that's not a whole lot of people. Okay, so if already you've got a pretty, you don't have a sizable subscription base anyway, and only 3% of that base dared to sit down and watch it. And if you don't think, Iger and Favreau aren't looking at those numbers and aren't looking at the reviews. The reviews, the audience reviews are like, fuck this shit, okay? Those are the audience reviews. No one is watching this. And it doesn't help that Amanda Stenberg runs around calling Star Wars nerds gay. She's really just, it's fascinating how stupid she really is, okay? She has the biggest mouth for such a little person I've ever seen in my life. And I'm in awe of the fact that no one's put her to the side saying, you can't say that anymore. I'm absolutely in awe of it. It's like they don't give a shit. Okay, so we've got a 75% top critic score, 91% critics, but then you look at the audience score fluctuates all the way down to 26%. Now it's back up to 31. But wow, really? Wow, what a change. And they think they want a second season? What are you going to write about? And here's another thing. The character Vestera Rowe, or whatever her name is, this green thing, is Leslie Headland's friend. Okay. So we've got the weirdest kind of nepotism I've ever heard playing out in the show. And, now they're talking about how episode 3 sort of validates the LGBTQ community. And Chris Gore at Film Threat spoiled episode 3. And when that airs, I'm going to say that audience score is going to crash into the molten hot lava of the Earth's core, never to be seen again. This is literally the worst TV show I think Disney Plus has ever had on its platform. Okay. It's worse than Willow. All right. And the idea that we had to have representation because that's all that Leslie Headland can do is really quite disturbing. I mean, she's not a good, when I talk to people who've seen it, it is not a well-written show. And actors like Lee Jung-jae do the best they can with what they got. But as far as it being worthy of Star Wars, it's not. The fact that you've got everybody that's part of it trashing the maker is just bullshit. And of course, they're attacking the fans too. Let's talk further.
This is like what we understand to be Star Wars. Like the idea that that only came from George Lucas. That only George Lucas holds the key for what we understand to be Star Wars is just untrue. And I think the prequels are an excellent example of that. I mean, the idea that when you're hiring a director, that everyone is sitting in there waiting for George Lucas and not for the person who's going to know to hire Ralph McQuarrie, that's the problem. That's the misogyny and the problem with the auteur myth as it stands today, because they're not thinking this is the person that will hire the right people and this is the person that will be able to create the lookbooks and direct people to get them to that place. They're just thinking, do you have all the answers? And the truth is that nobody does, and anybody that says they do feels sometimes like, well, I like this thing and I don't like that thing, and if you don't like the acolyte, that's fine. It doesn't matter. The reality is that Star Wars in and of itself is not just a vast universe full of many different characters, many different eras, but it is always, always, always about the spiritual journey of what it is to become who you are. And that's why I am so overwhelmed and grateful to be here, and beyond overwhelmed and grateful to be allowed as a filmmaker to experience what it is like to actually tactilely make something in this world. That is beyond my wildest dreams, and I can't wait to show you guys more. I wish I could.
The Force, nobody understood the Force. Nobody, what they do is, and then they started other ones when I sold the company, and they, a lot of those ideas that were in there sort of got lost. But that's the way it is. The movies, because this could be a key character. The critics kept saying, well, what we mean is there's no black people in the movie. In the second one, I had, Billy D. Williams, and in the new ones, which they were also criticizing, I had Sam Jackson. He was like one of the top Jedi. He was and he wanted to be in it so bad that all he really wanted was a purple sword. And so I said, great. It's a small part. It's the best I can do. I may be able to extend it.
I think there was an assumption being made for quite a while that girls didn't care about Star Wars, or that girls weren't identifying with characters like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. They were only identifying with...
Watch The Hate You Give. What do you want them to walk away with? Because I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal. It was the goal. They're gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But in my world, nerds are gay. Are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think. But this is more outward.
Fucking just killed a whole Death Star. How many people died? I did get in trouble for this answer at Star Wars Con. I got heat.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's so funny to me because it literally, as a person who was outside and just a fan coming in, that was what was so beautiful and interesting to me. People have been talking to me online about how Darth Vader is such a bad person. It's very clear, and it's very well established from those actions. But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this right now.
Get out.
Be here all night.
Get out! don't!
So, top critics only 75%. We've got The Acolyte and the audience score sitting at 31%. Let me explain something to the people who like the show or who are upset that people are trashing it, the Pablo Hidalgos of the world. The only number that is basically important is the audience score, because those are the people that sit down at their computer, sit down at their phone, or sit down in front of their TV set to watch this shit. And if they don't like it, and they go on Rotten Tomatoes and say so, that's on you, okay? Because they're the only ones that make any difference. They're the ones that get the subscriptions. They're the ones that the audience eyes on the show and on the app are the only ones that count. Do you think maybe Sir Bob Iger, KBE, knows this? Yes, he does. Okay. And 4.8 million viewers, that is absolutely a pathetic number. And to see Disney Plus and Lucasfilm try to hype it as something is utterly unfathomably bullshit. Okay? It truly is. John Favreau, he had to finish the show. He didn't want anything to do with it. Okay? And again, I've had people tell me, you can tell where Hedlund left off and Favreau took over. Because it went from shitty fan film to actually something that could almost be decent. But when you've got shit material to work with, that's what you do. He didn't have his name, he doesn't have his name on it. He won't, because it's garbage. All right? And, when you've got this bitch right here, this hypocrite, this enabler and co-conspirator right here, crying how much Star Wars saved her life, and then she makes shit like this when she's got them, let's say, talking about the Force like a thread. That's going to go over real well in episode 3. That is, Chris Gore lost his mind on that. And the guy had suffered a severe stroke just recently. All right. It's time, I think, for the people who like this shit, Star Wars Holocron, Jacob Suggs, Dan Decentralized on X, and the rest of that trash, to explain why they need this so much. Look, I don't. Why do they? Is it because they need to be validated? Are they virtue signaling to their, NPC friends? Why? And when you look at some people, it's like they need validation. The only way you get validation, and I want to look at Leslie Headland, is the person in the mirror that you see every day. That's who validates you. You don't need me going, yeah, you did a good job, to validate you. I'm not going to do that when you do a shitty job. Okay, and Leslie, you did a shitty job. Okay, and as far as, attacking the male fans, calling nerds gay, do you think maybe it would ever pass through Kathleen Kennedy's pea-sized brain that hiring loudmouths like Amanda Stenberg, Charlie Barnett, and allowing Leslie Headland to even give you a Star Wars pitch was probably not a good idea? I don't think this woman has originally had a good idea herself in a long, long time. Okay. All right. Look, she's the one. Steven Spielberg said, why doesn't he just end up with the dog? That's what he said. That's the extent of her creativity. Again, audience score 31%. Even Mike Zeroh is going after them about this, calling out the viewership being pathetic 3% of Disney Plus subscribers watched this travesty. Okay? They cannot deny it anymore. And they're in a state of denial. And they need a come to Jesus moment. Because how they're going to look, these people are setting themselves up to be miserable human beings. Not that they aren't already, but still. You learn from your failures, right? Didn't Yoda say something like that? Okay. So bringing the LGBTQ plus bullshit into the show on episode 3 and attacking George through Anakin Skywalker's immaculate birth, that's not going to do you people any good. All right? You're talking to a bunch of people who live normal lives. And I cannot believe these people are this disconnected that instead of doing the right thing by the franchise, they go out and antagonize us and write trash and behave like trash. Okay. But this is what we got. 31% audience score. I guarantee you it's going to be back down in the 20s later today. This is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.